What's up, everybody? It's Chris from Line Punch Forge. Today I'm going to do a demonstration of a way, not the only way, but a way to use the Rosy Revolver ring mandrel for making open back rings. I'm going to do something slightly different than my friend Jessica over at Rosy Revolver does, but the great thing about getting a bunch of smiths together, sharing information, and having fun is that a way that I see to use it may be different than some way that somebody else decides to use it. So what that does is provide as much information, as much versatility, and maybe some inspiration to others on how they could potentially take something that was designed for one thing and use it in a different way. So let's go ahead and get this started, and to begin with, we're going to go ahead and melt down some silver scrap to make a little round ingot for forming on the rolling mill. So I'll go ahead and cut to that in just a second, but before I do, the usual. There's a little red subscribe button down there. If you haven't already hit that button, that little bell, that'll tell you when I make a new video. Obviously, let me go ahead and earn you being able to hit that button and all that, because I try not to be too bossy, and I'm not the boss of you. So if you like it, right down there. Now let's get on with some playing with fire.
We've been acting out for days, nothing to deny. Blown up because echoes through the halls. You keep sleeping on the couch just to prove the point. I'm too proud to tell you when I'm wrong. Arguments spinning in circles, we're fighting for days, stuck in a phase. I think we're losing the reason. One word is all it takes, babe. Bursting out in cold flames, breathing, we are catching fire. Thought that we were wiser. Go and light the match, babe. Miss out on the good days. Breathing, we are catching fire. We're fighting for days, stuck in a phase. I think we're losing the reason. One word is all it takes, babe. Bursting out in cold flames, breathing, we are catching fire. Thought that we were wiser. Go and light the match, babe. Miss out on the good days. Breathing, we are catching fire.
Alright, so we melted our scrap down, and I've got a little bitty ingot here that is going to be a ring that I'm going to form around the Rosy Revolver mandrel. Now, before I take this ingot and turn it into a ring shank, I'm going to need to come down right over here onto the rolling mill and make my sheet using the mill. Before I do that, there's a couple processes that I like to go through for your poured ingot, or whatever you want to call this. I will hammer it all the way around so it keeps its circumference, and then I will anneal it. And then I will hammer it and anneal it. I'll do that twice. The reason for that is aligns the grains in a nice linear fashion so that the forming of this metal is a little easier. So I will hammer it, anneal it, hammer it, anneal it, and then after 2 cycles of that, I'll go ahead and start doing my rolling. Now, if it starts to roll or curve in a major way, take it back over and anneal it again, because the last thing you want is cracks to form, just like people. Metal, under stress, sometimes it can crack. If it's got too much stress, it cracks. Last thing we want is our metal to be like stressed people and crack. So that's why we, metalsmiths, play with metal, so we don't crack. We're not as stressed. I like it. I should mention another thing that I like to do, especially when it comes to annealing metal for basically rolling out stock or sheet. I don't quench that metal, and there's a reason. I don't quench it because I want everything to cool and be relaxed. Now, precious metals like this don't necessarily get hard when they're quenched. It's quite the opposite. But the last thing you want to do is introduce any sort of major stress on the material that you're using so that you can get the best possible product out of your rolling mill. So take the time to just let your metal cool off, especially if you're forming material for a ring or pulling wire or something like that. Just let it cool off. It'll be all right. Let it chill. All right, let's go ahead and zoom in. I'll show you my piece of metal here. So this has been annealed and hammered and annealed and hammered, and now it's to the point I want to start forming that. So to form it, I want to start off with probably turning this into square stock because I'm going to be making a ring, and I'll explain what I'm doing there first. Now, if you don't have a rolling mill, you can do this through forging. I've done it before. If you don't have a rolling mill and you want a rolling mill, hit me up. I know some people be able to help you out finding and selecting one that you want or that would be best for your needs. So what I'm going to do is start rolling this guy through some of the square wire tabs here, and then I'm going to go ahead, once I have this uniform drawn out the way that I want to, I'm going to go ahead and do some special forming to make the type of ring that I want to make. First thing I'm going to do is find a square wire pattern here I want to work with. One that fits in. I have plenty of room for adjusting. And I'm going to roll it through on a dead pass. Dead pass means I have no pressure. And then I'll do a quarter turn on my adjustment on top. Roll it through. Now I'm starting to get some square edges there. Do the same thing. Quarter turn. And I'm just taking it down nice and slow into a square wire. Right now it looks a little bit more octagonal, but it'll get there. Before I start using my rolling mill, I will clean it. And I have a video I'll try and link up above showing how I clean my rolling mill. I'm going to go ahead and anneal this again and then let it cool off and do a little bit more rolling. Alright, using the usual math implements for rings, I've decided that I want to make a size 15. So I measured the internal dimension of a size 15 ring, which is 23 point, we're going to call it 23.65. And then hang on a second, let me get this right. 23.40. So we're going to go clear 23.40 plus the thickness of the metal. So in this case we're gonna go 3.53, and we can change this can be adjusted. So plus 3.53 equals 26.93, and they're gonna go ahead and times that by pi, Who loves pie? About 84.5 millimeters long, and right now I'm sitting at 75.72. So that's good. What I'm going to end up doing right now is spreading out this middle area a little bit and then tapering this other area here on the rolling mill. What I'm probably going to end up doing is clamping the mill roller right here, roll back and forth, and then clamp it, roll back and forth, and I'm going to measure exactly how much I'm going to need to do that to spread that out a little bit. The other thing I can do is hammer this in the center area to spread this material out, and I'd use a ball peen and then a flat hammer to do that. Alright, so here is the kind of cross section of what I ended up rolling, and I stuck the rollers right in the center of the metal and then rolled it back and forth so that I had this kind of hourglass shape. Now what I'm going to want to do, since I placed the rollers on top and bottom here, trying to get you guys focused, and rolled, I'm going to do the same thing by turning it on edge and rolling it here so that I have kind of a different pattern. I can thin this band out a little bit more and I can make a ring out of it, and then I can go ahead and make it the way that I want it after that. So I'll show you how to do that, and then yeah, we'll come back. Alright, so since I rolled it this way before and clamped the rollers between, rolled it back and forth, I'm going to tip it up until it touches right where I want it, and then I'm going to roll it out, and then I can roll it back in right up to that point, and then I can turn it around and do the same thing with the other side right until it hits. Then I can turn it, drop it down a little bit, bring it in, same thing, flip it around, and what I'm going to slowly start to do is thin down the band area so that I can have a little bit more elongation here, because right now we're past where we need to be. We wanted 84, but what I'm going to want to do is make it so that material is a little bit more manageable, because we're at 87 mil right now. So I'm going to keep on doing that. Alright, moving you guys to a little different view. Now that I have kind of a pattern, like now that I have kind of this shape, I'm going to start rolling these square sections through the square rollers of the rolling mill so that these will lengthen out and thin out as I want them to, so that my ring band is square. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And some of these are dead passes. I'm not tightening them down every single time. Just trying to form it. Let's see. Move it down to the next lower size. Open these up. Find out where my dead pass is, and then crank it down a little bit more. Make sure you get it in the right slot. Now I have a little bit more of that pattern I want. Alright, after rolling this thing through the rolling mill a few times, you see kind of the profile I have. Nice flat top, even bottom. The shoulders of the ring where I'm going to bend it around the mandrel are a bit thicker. They'll be kind of fun. And then both sides, if I uniformly go back and forth with the mill and use both sides, or roll it through both sides and stop, I'm going to end up with a uniform piece like this. So like on this one, I rolled it through where the rollers are this way, and on this one I rolled it through so the rollers are this way, and I stopped in the center. That created a wide middle and a slim band. So I'm going to go ahead and do one last thing on the rolling mill. I'm going to roll these square ones through the half round rollers to kind of finish that out before I start doing my forming, my cutting, and maybe we're going to use some pulse arc welding today too. Alright, rolled these through the half rounds, and now the top of that band is half round. I've got flats, half rounds, and kind of a taper there. This one piece of ingot would have been perfect for like a bracelet with a engraving or something like there, but I'm going to be using this for a ring today. So we'll do this, and then we're going to do some decorative file work after we weld this band together. All right, here it is. Cleaned it up a little with some sandpaper, and now we're ready for our kind of rough forming. Now, if you remember before, I said that our ring band needed to be 84 millimeters long. Last time I checked, 84 millimeters and half was 42. Yeah, I did math in my head just then. So we're going to go ahead and figure what 42 is. That is close enough. So I want to try and find the center of the band, which is going to be here. Go ahead and grab a pen for layout. So my center, I want that to be right here. So I'm going to mark it here, come to my center, mark it here, and this is a rough estimate as far as marking goes. And I can go ahead and just take some flush cutters, and I'm going to go above that line so I have some room. Snap. Make sure you get your measuring right. Snap. And I should have, let's see what happens. Wait for it. Let's see if I did this right. So I have 87 right now, and I can go ahead and just trim. Okay, I'm at 84 right now. So that's my ring band. Now what I'm going to want to do is take it over to my ring mandrel, and I'm going to find my flat spot. I'm going to align that with the center of my ring band, and I'm going to just put my finger on it, start forming that around. So that gives me a rough idea about where I want. Now I can grab my rawhide hammer or my nylon mallet and form that out. But I want to go ahead and anneal it again. Alright, let's do some welding. Let's see. I'm going to adjust my settings here to what they call a standard ignition. And I'm going to go kind of a triangle wave. And let's see what we can do with this thing. Try and find the best way to press these together. I can look at my microscope to see whether or not I have a good close fit when it comes to doing my initial weld. I'm going to tack the sides first. Try and do this in a way you guys can see it. Alright, that's got a good joining weld there for now to work with. I'll do the same thing over here. Go ahead, and I'm going to turn down my power a little bit. It gets hot fast. Silver is a good conductor. Alright, we've got an initial tack weld done. I'm going to go ahead and take some of the material from the ring band here, and I'm going to use the little tungsten anode there to melt and move the metal down into that pocket. I do that by just hitting in the middle. Okay, I like what it looks like on the ring side here, but I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to weld on the inside of the ring band just to make sure that my weld penetration is all the way through. So let's go ahead and do that. good. Alright, now that I have a ring band joined together, welded together, I need to add some material in there. So to do that, I'm going to take a little tiny piece of silver I have somewhere in here. Alright, I'm going to clip off wire. I don't need that much. It doesn't take much. Alright, I have the ring shank welded. I'm still going to need to take a file over it, but ultimately, you can see that, other than hearing the dog barking, it looks really good, nice and solid. I have hammered it around the ring mandrel. I'm at the size that I want to be, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, flatten those sides, round off that band, and then we can get into the file work that I want to do for this ring. The ring is 4.5 millimeters wide this way, so I want to take and divide that in half for the file work that I'm going to do. So 2.25 is right there. I've scribed a line. I don't know if you can barely see it, but that line is going to be my marker line for the file work that I'm going to do. I'll do some other layout work here in a few minutes. Okay, here's the ring bend, cleaned up, sanded, filed. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I know I can't, where that weld was. So I have a seamless weld for the band. You can see the shape of it, wide, narrow, thin down. So it's got some really interesting geometry. Normally with rings like this, these two areas would be too wide, but we're going to play with some file work to kind of make that fun. So that's what's coming up next, file work. Alright, so this guy, I just took some dividers, found the center of my ring, marked the center, and then figured out what I liked, what looked good. There's no magic to this, so what I'm going to end up doing is just file marks, very light, like just witness marks for the ring design, the file work that I'm going to do. No magic to this, just figure out what looks good for your ring and find out where center is for this design. Now for it, I'm going to use a round file, and I'm going to go all the way up to the center line and file an angle this way and file an angle this way to the center line. On the opposite side, I'm going to do the opposite. So basically I have arrows moving toward each other to the center of the ring. I'm going to do that maybe, probably 4 on one side, 4 on the other, and then I'm going to go with the file again, and on the band I have them marks all the way down. Down here I'm more or less going to follow that line, file it like a half round, and then I'm going to go on either side and file that half round up to the center of the ring band to kind of give it some dimension. I'm going to go ahead and show a little bit of what that looks like. It's kind of hard to get on camera, but I'll see what I can do for you. that's basically it. You got your file work around the outside. This is definitely a men's ring, and it's along the lines of the brutalist style that I like, but you can see the shape of it has the kind of a D, like my hands are dirty. But, and then it has that kind of fun profile that we did on the rolling mill. So this will probably get some liver of sulfur, and I'll wear it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I plan on doing a couple more series using Jessica Rosy Revolver's ring mandrel. This is one style that you can do with it. I got some other ones in the works. So, hope you enjoyed. See you guys soon, and check out down below for links of a lot of the tools that I used today, including the Orion welder, the 200i3. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. So, as you can see, no solder line, can't see the weld, blended in perfectly, and yeah, fun. See you guys next time.